Welcome to this WELT Talk Special from the G7 Summit in Bari. Mr. Chancellor, thank you for taking your time for this conversation. For the first time, the Pope has participated in a G7 summit. How impactful is His Holiness's presence? Did he also congratulate you on your birthday?
He, like everyone else, congratulated me on my birthday. That was, of course, particularly nice, and he spoke on a topic that concerns us all: artificial intelligence. This involves not only technological, but also high moral questions, and he commented on that as well.
The Italian Prime Minister Georgia Meloni is one of the most controversial politicians in Europe. How did she fare as a host here?
We have worked closely together in recent years and months since she became Prime Minister, as it should be in the European Union and also within the framework of G7. This is not the first time we have met and spoken in this context. There are often discussions within the framework of G7. Real meetings are not that frequent. That is why it is important to take the opportunity to exchange ideas. Such a meeting is also important because there is not only the agenda, but also the opportunity to talk concretely with others who are attending, with the American President, for example, and various other participants. I have used this opportunity thoroughly.
In Germany, Georgia Meloni is generally referred to as a post-fascist. Do you think this designation is still justified?
She stands politically where she stands, far right in the political spectrum of her own country. This is no secret, but also her own view.
So is it a yes or a no?
I think that we should not discuss between states by making such accusations against each other. But there are political differences that are quite obvious and which also lead to us working in very different party families. And when it comes to Europe, for example, I think it is very important that the future President of the Commission can rely on the traditional democratic parties in the European Parliament. So the Conservatives, who are gathered in the European People's Party, the Social Democrats, the Liberals, and this can work after the election results in Europe.
Does what you just said mean that Ursula von der Leyen has your support, the support of the Social Democrats for a second term as Commission President?
There will be very quick decisions now about the most important positions that need to be filled in Europe for the European Union's ability to act. This involves the Commission President, the President of the Council, the High Representative, the Foreign Minister of the European Union. These questions can and will be resolved quickly.
So, you left the question, whether she has your support, quite open. If Ursula von der Leyen did not have the support of the Social Democrats, it would inevitably mean that she would be reliant on the votes of Georgia Meloni's right wing.
I think you are having the wrong idea about what is being discussed. Everyone agrees that we will decide all these questions in one go very quickly. And of course it is clear that after the election results, everything suggests that there can be a second term for Ursula von der Leyen. You know that the government I lead made this possible in its own coalition agreement. So I believe it is now a matter of quickly agreeing on everything together, and that will succeed.
The public appearance of U.S. President Biden here at the G7 summit has once again sparked speculation about his fitness. 6 out of 10 Americans believe that he is no longer fit enough, even mentally, to hold office. How did you personally experience him here behind the scenes, in the discussions?
So I find that Joe Biden is someone who is very clear, who knows exactly what he is doing, and who, especially when it comes to international politics, is one of the most experienced politicians worldwide. This is something good in such a difficult situation, where a war is happening here in Europe near us after Russia invaded Ukraine, and where many other conflicts are troubling the world. Therefore, I can only say that he is a man who knows exactly what he is doing.
The NATO has just taken over the coordination of Western military aid from the USA. This is already being interpreted as preparation for a possible re-election of Donald Trump. How is the federal government specifically preparing for the possibility that Trump could move back into the White House?
I find it somewhat peculiar how there is speculation here about who will win the next American election. I think it is likely that the current president can also win the election.
Why?
Because he has pursued policies that have led to a solid economic development of the country, contributed to ensuring that peace and security are in good hands, and allowed the USA to play its role in the world effectively. And thirdly, of course, because he advocates for cooperation and cohesion within his country. These are good arguments.
The G7 sent a strong signal to Putin here in Bari. At the same time, they are currently blocking the EU's 14th sanctions package against Russia. Isn't that a contradiction?
It is not being blocked. We are discussing the specific details. It is about ensuring that the German economy can continue its activities, while also ensuring that goods delivered somewhere to South America, then to an Asian country, and eventually to Africa do not end up in Russia where they shouldn't. This needs to be done in a way that companies can handle, and I believe this will succeed soon. It is a practical question, not a fundamental one.
You said they are not blocking, but according to high-ranking EU officials, Germany is the new Hungary.
Yes, that's a catchy phrase, but it's complete nonsense. We are seeking a solution, and I think you wouldn't feel good if there were a government in Germany that essentially does not do its job. And the job here is to ensure that there is a solution that works for the economy, that can be managed if you are a company wanting to sell goods and services to the world, and that simultaneously fulfills exactly the purpose we are aiming for.
Putin has proposed a ceasefire, which would include Ukraine renouncing NATO membership and large parts of its territory. You have already said this is unacceptable. Do you still consider it a serious offer for negotiations? An initial move from Putin?
It doesn't seem so, and it is certainly related to the fact that the peace conference in Switzerland is taking place now. But it is also important for us to make it clear that there can only be peace that works for Ukraine and does not compromise its integrity and sovereignty. It cannot be a dictated peace from Russia. Therefore, it is also important that at the G7 meeting, after long preparation, we decided to help Ukraine with a very comprehensive financial package. $50 billion should be made available quickly by the G7 countries, and I believe this sends a message to Ukraine that they can rely on us. But it is also a message to Putin that he should not bet on simply waiting long enough for the support for Ukraine to wane. This is likely also a message to him that he must now seriously engage in a fair and just peace process.
You mentioned the peace conference in Switzerland. Both the U.S. and China are not represented. What are your expectations for the conference?
This is an important step for us to move forward. Many questions about peace and security will be discussed, but not the major ones. That was planned from the beginning. I have always said beforehand, this is a seedling that needs to be nurtured, but of course with the perspective that more can come out of it, such as another conference where more and bigger issues can be discussed.
The German national team phenomenally defeated Scotland yesterday, showing a lot of team spirit with a 5-1 victory. What can your coalition and your party learn from this?
You need to link arms and show team spirit. You already said it yourself.
On Wednesday, we play against Hungary. Your prediction?
After the start, I hope for many goals for the German team.
Could you be more specific?
Scoring 5 goals in one game is already something. Probably so that you can do it again. I'd say 3.
3-0?
I don't want to say 3-2.
Thank you for this conversation. And with that, we go back to the newsroom in Berlin.